All right, it is time for another edition of James Reads the Star Wars Expanded Universe. It's your host here. I'm Jawa James. This week I'm going to be reading to you from Star Wars Splinter of the Mind's Eye by Alan Dean Foster. This was pretty much one of the first Expanded Universe books. Let's see what the copyright date on this book is. 1978. So this came out before Empire Strikes Back came out. And a lot of EU fans kind of wonder, how does this really fit in, especially since it has Luke and Leia go off on a mission together, and there's a little bit of romantic tension there, which, later on, we learn. But here is a section that I would like to read from you from Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Once outside, the double metal door panels shut behind them. Leia kicked Luke sharply in the shins. He went staggering, tumbled off in the narrow walkway into the mud-filled trench which separated walkway from more solid street. When he recovered his senses, he gazed at her in surprise. "Now you look more like a miner," she grinned at him. "That's for slapping me inside. No hard feelings?" Luke shook some of the mud from his hands, wiped at his chest, then smiled up at her. "No hard feelings, Leia." He reached up, extended a hand. The princess leaned forward, her left hand gripping a supporting post, her right extended to help Luke. Her caution didn't matter. Luke yanked hard, and she plunged messily into the trench beside him. He sat there, grinning as she turned around, looking down at herself in distress. "Look at me! Look what you've done to me!" "Made you look a little more like a servant girl," he replied easily. "Can't be too careful here, you know." "Well, in that case..." Luke ducked the first handful of gook she heaved in his direction, caught part of the second, and grappled with her. Hala was watching, amused, until several large men came out of the tavern behind her. They paused, their attention also drawn by the wrestling match in the mud. They were all just drunk enough to be dangerous, and the longer they watched, the quieter they became. Much too quiet to suit Hala. "For our souls and health," she muttered hastily to the two combatants. "Stop it, you two!" Encased in mud, neither Luke nor the princess heard Hala's anxiously whispered warning. One of the men leaned to his right, spat something out between his beard, and commented, "Servant's not supposed to fight back, boys." "Doesn't seem proper somehow," his companion agreed. "Besides," the first man added, "fighting in the public's against the town decrees, ain't it?" "That's right," another man concurred. "Maybe we can straighten him out before the night troop takes him in. Be doing him a good turn." He called down to Luke. "Hang in there, young fella. We won't let her hurt you." Grinning and chuckling among themselves, the five stepped down off the walkway. Finding herself providently ignored by all concerned, Hala slipped back into the shadows. "Is there anything we can do, madame?" a voice said in her ear. She jumped. 3PO jumped. "You've no right scaring me like that, you refugee from a scrap shop." "I apologize, but my master and the lady..." "Oh, are you 3PO?" The droid nodded slightly. "And this must be R2. A beep sounded from a dim shape nearby. "We can't do anything yet, I'm afraid." She peered back out into the street. "Maybe those bulk boys are just teasing." Two of the men pulled Leia off Luke. That provided them with a good glimpse of her for the first time. Their initial amusement abruptly shifted as less pleasant emotions surfaced. "Well now," murmured a barrel-chested individual with a Fuchu mustache. "This is no droid servant, that's for sure." Leia became aware of the miner's stares. Several buckles and straps on the tight-fitting clothes had become undone while she had been wrestling with Luke. Despite the coating of mud over them, their exposed areas were drawing an uncomfortable amount of attention. She felt as if something was crawling all over her under her clothing. Ignoring the mud and trying to draw the loose ends of her attire together, she drew herself up regally, announced with shaky dignity, "Thank you very much. This is a private matter. Now if you'll all be so kind as to leave us to settle our differences." "Thank you very much. This is a private matter," one of the men echoed in a mincing tone. The others guffawed. The one with the beard leered down at her. "You're not a registered citizen, lady love." He indicated her shoulder. "No name tag, nothing. Fighting in public streets against the law." Mine law says that we gotta apprehend anyone breaking the law when and where we can. Come here and let me apprehend you. He reached out a massive paw. Backing up a quick step, the princess continued to glare at them, but her confidence was seeping away like snow on a stove. I can't tell you who I am, but if any of you put a hand on me, you'll answer for it. Barrel Chest moved closer. There was no humor in his voice, and he did not smile at her. Little mudhen, I'll put more than a hand on you. A slim form interposed itself between the princess and her would-be apprehender. Look, this is a private argument, and we can finish it ourselves, friend. I ain't your friend, sonny, the man said evenly, putting a hand out and shoving Luke backwards. Stay out of this. Your argument ain't important anymore. The princess let out a startled exclamation. One of the other men had slipped up behind her and grabbed her around the chest with his left arm. Luke stepped over quickly, brought the edge of his palm down hard on the other's wrist. Letting out a hurt yelp, the miner stepped back, holding his wrist. It had grown deathly silent on the street. All eyes were focused on Luke now, not on the princess. The only sounds in the mist came from the distant jungle. Sonny boy wants to play, snickered the man whose wrist Luke had clipped. Resist in public apprehension. He flicked his right forearm. There was a clicking sound, and a double-bladed stiletto slid out from under his coverall sleeve. All right, with that, Luke and Leia have gone from mud wrestling to getting in trouble with some local toughs. And if you want to know more, you're going to have to go pick up Splinter of the Mind's Eye, give it a read. See you next week. This is James with my really cool Bubo t-shirt saying see you next time.